I'm just going to give it to you. Yeah. So right now we both are being seen. Okay, guys, sorry, extremely sorry. There are some technical problems here, so I'm really extremely sorry. Now I have Srikanth with me. He's a CEO of Bolla Industries. And just to give a very quick introduction about him, so probably you might have read his LinkedIn. He's a blind student at MIT, the first international student in business, the blind student, and he has a very inspiring story to share us here. And I think we probably are going to cut short his talk to probably 30 minutes. So because we ran out of time right now. So I'm just, without any further ado, I'm just going to hand it off to Srikanth. Srikanth, we really welcome you here. We are really excited to really see you speak. And I may have one or two short questions at the end. So you're up, Srikanth. So please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Nanda, for having me. And I believe everyone can hear me fine, right? All right. So thank you so much. It's a lovely evening. I know life is all about uncertainty. So today also we have witnessed the same. The technical glitches. I think glitches can come in many ways. When we are doing some tech event, it comes in the form of technology, or some in other way it's different. So but it's all the time facing challenges, overcoming them, and getting things with a go get attitude. Having said that, it's indeed my pleasure to interact with you all, different mix of people from IT backgrounds and leaders and change makers and so on and so forth. So it's really a wonderful opportunity to share a glimpse of my journey of being an entrepreneur today. You see, most of you belong to this new age economy, digital technology, and transformative industries. But I am working on the other side in an old fashioned and boring industry, manufacturing. Let me tell you, if we don't transform manufacturing, we can't get anywhere in terms of job and wealth creation for our people, uh, especially in the mass segment. All of us can't be employed in high tech, right? So especially people like me feels high tech is a boring job, because I like to think and innovate every minute. So I'm pretty sure you might as well have the same attitude. If that is the case, then we need to think unique. So all of us can be employed in high tech. Someone has to make the food we eat, and someone has to make the plates we eat the food out of. Maybe that's what I partially do among a whole lot of other things. You see, entrepreneurship is like a spiritual journey. Ultimately, it is a very lonely path. It is so lonely because most people do not understand why do we want to work so hard, take huge risks, and put ourselves through a roller coaster. In fact, even today, if you go and ask my father what do you want Srikanth to do, he would happily smile and say, I want him to get government job and get married to a pretty girl. Getting married to a pretty girl may not be that difficult in this world, but getting a government job or working for the government, uh, or a big organization fills me with total dread. And that is why I became an entrepreneur. Today I want to tell you three important lessons that I have learned, which gave me a decent form of success. Our personal experiences and hardships often shape our journey in life and in entrepreneurship. From a very young, my parents are the poor, uneducated. I belong to a farmer background family, born to a poor, uneducated parents. Yet they gave me utmost love and care, and I'm very grateful to them for it. And that is why, from a very young age, I have been determined not to be a financial burden on them. You see, when I was born in 1991 in a village where no power was there, people actually didn't notice that I don't see, because both my eyes were closed and the power was off. But later, in a lantern light, in a very bleak candle light, they were able to see why am I crying but not opening my eyes. That's when the whole community realized that I was born without the privilege of eyesight. That was the first time the whole community went silent in the darkness. Maybe the darkness didn't notice the panicness on their face. That's because they've neither They've not seen a baby born without both the eyes. Maybe my parents, the term, now that I think, the term apple in the eye must have meant not much for my parents, I guess, because in South India they have neither seen an apple nor they have seen a baby without eyesight. So that was the time they felt extremely unlucky and devastated, because you know, right, the birth of a child, especially in South India, that to a male child, is the happiest occasion for any family, because male children are considered the breadwinners and lineage takers for the old parents. For my own parents, that was not happening. It was a shattered dreams. Yet they were able to convince themselves and say, "Look, this is the gift that we have gotten from the God, and this is a baby, a golden baby born, maybe without eyesight, but maybe they must have thought with full of vision, which I have proven after 20 and odd years, which makes me stand in front of you today." However, at that point of time, uh, they felt that they have to give me a great care, love, and affection, and they were able to stand up against all the comments, which were like, take this pillow and smother this baby, or just how can you take care of a baby with a blind baby, because you need to do everything. So they only had one thing: let him not be a breadwinner, let him not be a contributor to the society or to India. Let him be a happy child, and we will give him all that we could. And my parents were the happiest people, because though they don't have a life insurance, pension, and a bike or a TV, yet their life was happy and meaningful with their community members. This is where I have learned that my parents are the symbol of showing compassion and therefore making people richer. So this is why I tell people that compassion is what actually makes you rich and not anything else in this world. All the wealth in this world actually makes you vulnerable and not compassionable. But if you have compassion at heart, I think you can make people happier and thereby making them rich. Richness at heart always lives, but richness in wealth is temporary and it's momentary. And this is why I was determined not to be a financial burden on them from a very young age. But as I said, the hardships that you face in life actually enable you to gain more exposure. When I joined in a rural school far away from my hometown, it was challenging to say the least, because we rural Indians do not have 1 rupee of discretionary income in our pockets. So transportation was the biggest problem. So I walked to school every day for 2 kilometers, crossing all problems and challenges. See, the other thing that probably shaped me more than anything else is what happened every day when I get to school. But before that, let me tell you, all my senses were keenly developed, simply surviving on the village roads for 2 years without the privilege of eyesight. Once I got to school after a long struggle, what do you expect? You expect people to be happy and play with you and talk to you, but that was not there. So I was not acknowledged by anybody in the school, from teachers to the students. They made me sit in the last bench and made me not learn anything. So I sat in the last bench for 2 years, wallowing in my loneliness. Now that I think, Lord Gautam Buddha might have had similar experience when he sat in Lumbini before he got enlightened. But as a 6-year-old, I wouldn't knew about that, right? So as a 6-year-old, I wanted to play with everybody, talk to everybody, and be happy and chill out. So that was the time I felt I was the poorest child in this world. Not that I have lunchbox to eat, but because I was made lonely by the perceptions of the people. This is where I have learned my second lesson in my life. Loneliness is actually what is poverty in this world. Not having something to eat or something. But as you're lonely, you will extremely feel poor. This is why I told myself, I'm going to fight against this poverty of loneliness and create happy communities, happy people. And it is later I have realized that if I do something good for other people, I would be the first beneficiary. I have learned this when I when I created happy people and happy livelihood opportunities through my company, Bolla Industries. But before that, my father finally decided that I would become a useless child as community thought, and he finally decided that I should go to a special school in Hyderabad so that I could be with kids of my own kind. Wow, that was when my liberation began. It was at Hyderabad I began to see what was possible. I was access to mentors, library, and a peer group that I fit in. That was when I realized nothing is impossible. But this is not to say that Hyderabad was not a challenging place for an 8-year-old kid away from his parents for the first time. Of course it was. But the stakes were higher. See, I realized if I'm going to work hard, I might as well aim as high as possible. Let me give you an example, right? A person working in a quarry from morning to evening is definitely working harder than any of us in this room. But her productivity is not enough to pull the person out of the poverty or let alone build meaningful for them. This is why I believe, and I truly believe, exposure at right age to right things is the most important thing. But without that exposure, all your talent in this world won't take you beyond breaking stones by hand all day. The setbacks I had in life actually enabled me to gain more exposure. Whenever someone said no to me, I would go over their head and proceed to the next level. This is the secret of success. The ground level is always filled with naysayers, but as you go higher, you will see people who believe anything is possible and anything can be possible. The definition of success, I believe, is seeing yes wherever you look. Other than that, it's nothing. So with the grit and determination that we always have, we have to see that anything is possible and everything is possible. That is when success can easily be seen. Many people often ask me, what keeps me going? That's an important question. Let me tell you, when I was growing up in the US, I see a lot of people debating whether our planet is 4 billion year old or 7,000 year old, or what point of photos becomes a human being. I'm pretty sure it must be luxurious to debate on such things, but in India, if you see, we don't have that luxury. We are trying hard to provide skills for the 90% of people who are self-employed or in low-end jobs. We are preventing people from using roadside as a toilet, and we have many more problems. And it is my generation and our generation that needs to solve them. And this is why I came back to India, started my own company to create that legacy. When we do things very differently. And when I started my company in 2008, 12, and until my board gave me a raise few months ago, my salary was about 8,000 rupees. That's less than $120. In many of those months, I did not even draw my full salary because there was no cash in the bank. This is the life of an entrepreneur. It's always walking on a sword kind of a thing. This is where I have learned we cannot create something by sitting in the lap of luxury. In fact, our brains are hardwired to produce our best efforts only when we face hardship. I faced so much of hardship in my life ever since I was born that it has become an addiction for me. You see, you might be wondering, how can you face hardship? What keeps you going? And this is exactly what I was telling you. The hardships that I face is what keeps me going every day. Because whenever I face an hardship, since it's an addiction, I don't see anything different. I see it as a potential way to finding a solution. Because whenever I face a hardship, I see where is the solution for me. Because I see set of challenges as set of solutions. In my dictionary, in my mindset, there is no challenge if there is no solution. Therefore, if our response to challenges is to say, bring it on, and I'm sure the whole world will conspire to help us succeed. So you must be wondering what makes you face that hardship. If you create a higher goal for yourself than what you can reach, and I'm sure hardship is at your purview. You can face hardship every day. See, if we can create a goal that we can reach, there is no fun in it. Rather, if we are a little bit agile or flexible and say, no, I'm going to stretch a little more further and create a higher goal than what I can reach, and I'm sure you'll be making all efforts to reach your goal. That is exactly way I do things in my own way. When I saw a small cottage sector in India in 2011 and 12, it looked not at all interesting. Let me tell you, a concept of a cottage industry is nothing but a low subscale, substandard, low productive enterprise. It's a terrible idea to start a cottage factory. But if you can't innovate, you can't become efficient. And if you can't grow, you can't do both of them. Therefore, without efficiency and innovation, you will fall further behind. And that is exactly what inspired me to get into a cottage factory, into a cottage segment, which was highly unscalable, substandard segment occupied with seasonal players, self-help groups, and mom and pop units doing cash-based business, evading taxes, and so on and so forth. And our idea was we want to create a ripple that would have impact on multiple sectors of India. Other than that, we have started in a traditional manufacturing segment, which is not a very sexy industry, but the ripple that we have created have gone beyond. See, my idea was simple. The cost of capital for cottage players in India is close to about 50%. But if we could bring in capital at 15%, that would supercharge our growth. And that's exactly what we did. Growth is a self-fulfilling prophecy if you convince world to give you cheaper capital. More importantly, doing it the clean way, meeting all our tax obligations, making products, world-class products that people should be proud of using by using people who are at the margins of the society, is what made Bolla Industries the consolidator in the traditional manufacturing sector in India in the space of paper and packaging. You see, I will give you a small story. When you look at a disposable paper product manufacturing, you see a lot of fragmented and small units coming into this field and doing. They mortgage their wife's gold or their gold or their savings, and they come into the business with a lot of big aspirations. But their aspirations are being shattered by the mafia and by the big players who charge them left and right, who does not give them necessary technical training and market training and so on and so forth. So I felt extremely bad for these people because I come from that space. And when I started as a small guy, I was also abused by so many monopolists and big players. So I thought to myself, look, I'm going to consolidate all these cottage factories across India, put them onto a platform, digitize them, give them necessary tools and techniques, whether they buy from people like me or not, but they should buy it at a fair price. That was my goal. That is what allowed me to create a platform and bring them to under one umbrella and say, why can't the paper price be published in paper? When the price of an egg is being published in the paper, my idea was paper price should also be published in paper. That is exactly what we did. And we have consolidated more than 700 cottage factories in India who get material on a very daily fair price basis. This gave a lot of human and impact and a demographic as well as the economic impact to the GDP as well. So, I'm a person of go-get attitude, as I told you. I like to be the change that I want to see. When I was growing in the US, when I was growing in India, back in those days in 2006 and 7, after I finished my 10th grade, I was planning to take up my science subject and become an engineer and contribute to a bigger organizations. Maybe it could be belonging to one of you. But to my surprise, I was told I can't take up sciences in the intermediate level in the Andhra Pradesh State Board examination. And I was devastated. I said, when I was able to achieve everything until my 10th grade, I had a great profile. I became an Indian cricket player, international chess player. I was doing everything that I could. I was getting left and right first rank in my school and colleges, junior college, school and second primary and secondary school. Yet I was told that I can't take up science because simply on the basis that I can't see. I said, I'm going to fight and be the change that I want to see. Because if I cannot raise my voice, the younger generation cannot break this barrier. It is either me or none. And that is why I said, I'm going to break this barrier and be an example to the younger generations and create that legacy forever. And I went and filed the case, waited for 6 months against all odds, and then finally gotten a GO, government order, which allowed me to take up science subjects, math, physics, and chemistry in the +1 and +2 level, and then sit for the exam. And then I got more than 95% and proved people who said no to all of them that nothing is impossible. This is where I tell you, my friends, the God can give you your starting circumstances, but we make our own destiny. The future is in our hands with just enough randomness to make things interesting and less predictable. And and that's how I was able to create this change forever. Then again, when I wanted to apply for IITs and BITS Pilanis and all the top organizations, they were again saying, no, you can't sit for the exam, or you can't write it because you are blind. I said, then I told to myself, how long can I fight with the system? Let me create a world record, and let me do something that the whole world recognizes and the whole world realizes the potential of people with different disabilities. Which is, when IIT doesn't want me, I don't want IIT either. With that vision, I said, let me aim for the top universities in the US and the world, and MIT's being the best for the world. I went there, studied there, enjoyed my life there, and then that's how I said, studying from an MIT is not a big thing, but the big thing is the exposure that you learn there, and turn that exposure into reality, and then become a global leader, and help the community which is in need is a real thing. That actually made me to get back to India, and then even when I was in school, started my company, and then ever since then I've been growing this company into a business group, into a big conglomerate in the future, and winning the trust of proud partners, stakeholders, and investors and the customers. And at Bolland, we believe everyone is counted. That's our tagline. And we also say we also do employ able-bodied people. Other than having vision to employ people with multiple disabilities, ours is a purely commercial enterprise. And we have created phenomenal impact and stories of people with various disabilities, including people with mental challenges. You might be wondering, because you belong to a lot of organizations, and you might be wondering that we want to also make our work cultures inclusive, want to hire people with various disabilities, but don't know how. That is how, and that is where we come in handy, and we have already educated and proven people how these people can be turned from rural introverts to productive citizens of this country. We employ mentally challenged people in repetitive manufacturing tasks. If I can employ these people, nothing can stop you from hiring and winning zero attrition rate and best productivity in your work cultures, and in your work life and in your work cultures as well. So I'm pretty sure with with my in the story of coming from nowhere, doing something. This proves nothing is impossible if we have grit and determination. You see, I was born blind, but I don't think I was born blind. I always think I was made blind by the perceptions of the people. But other than that, I can do anything in this world. So whenever the world looks up to me and says, Srikanth, you cannot do anything, I look up to the world and say I can do anything, and prove it. I go anywhere possible, however difficult it is, and face it, because challenge is something I love it. So if you ask him what do you like in this world, my one word answer is not food, not my wife, or not anything else, but it's the challenge. It's facing challenges is something that I crave for and I like it. That's how I learn things, and that's how I am improved every day. If I don't face challenge, I think the best of mine will not come out to the world, to the light. So face challenge and have that challenge be a solution to your life and to your career. And if I can do this, we all can do it, and you will do much more than what you see yourself. Because one thing is, we underbelieve ourselves all the time. So, but if we praise ourselves and say there's nothing that I cannot do it, you will definitely achieve with your proper hard work and knowledge. That's why I always believe in my role model, Dr. Abdul Kalam, who always said, "Dream big, work hard, and the universe itself will conspire to have you succeed." So continue to dream big and work hard. Nothing can stop you in your respective careers and fields. So I definitely wish to take up any questions that you may have now.
Wow, that is a really really inspiring story. So, for anybody who did not know, Srikanth, first time probably a lot of you are seeing. I actually met him 2 years ago in a cafe coffee day. I think when we were really looking to get him for the keynote speaker for 2020. Session 2020 regional gathering, but that time it didn't work out because we had to switch from like in person to virtual. That time it didn't work out. This time we were able to get him, and I'm so excited about it. And I was so impressed the way he handles things when he was even outside, right? So that is what I really got impressed on. So Srikanth, one question to you is, you have you have studied our whole life and you have seen everything, I guess. So my question is, in India, I always feel that people need a lot of mentorship, because a lot of times, maybe because of the education system, you call it whatever it is, people need a lot of mentorship in making decisions on their own. A lot of times people struggle. So I would like to ask you, what is your advice for the people as far as they being in charge of their own life rather than just waiting for dependency paralysis? I call it dependency paralysis. Like wait for somebody to come and tell them, then only they will do it. So what are your insights around that?
I think you're right. So basically, there's a distance.
Go on, go on.
Okay. So basically, for everybody's success, for my success, I think we all need a mentor and a role model that we look up to, because these people are those leaders who have done extremely well, phenomenally well, proven anything can be done beyond the boundaries. So those are the people we look up to. So I mainly look up to my own mentor in some ways, and Dr. Abdul Kalam as my own hero. But fortunately or whatever, I came from following him as a role model to being called by him as my own hero. So I think in many platforms he called me that I'm his hero. That is the way, that is the level of growth that I have personally witnessed in my own life. So I'm pretty sure in everybody's life, taking inspiration from someone, following someone who have done phenomenally well, extremely well, is the most important thing, because that is what inspires us to dream big and work hard. Because in business, when I look at Steve Jobs as one of my kind of inspirations, because he told several things. One such thing is, customer doesn't know what he needs. It's you who needs to educate the customer what he should have it. I think that is exactly what I follow in whatever I do. People ask me, have you studied the market? Have you studied this? Have you studied that? I said, I'm going to create my own market. I'm going to create my own space. I'm going to create my own empire. And investors may not appreciate it, but that is a fact. You tell me how many investors, how many, see, how many of us know Swiggy and Zomato? All of us, right? Paytm, Swiggy, Zomato, all these companies, they raise millions and trillions of dollars with what? Negative 70% growth. But on the basis of what? Customers. But I mean, you don't even know whether the customer tomorrow is going to be with that Zomato or something else. If I say Srikanth delivery, somebody will come to me. If you say no, something else, they'll come to you, because customers are looking for new disruption, new system, new innovation, and things like that constantly. But investors are so foolish to say, oh, Zomato can be valued at X million dollars because they have, though they are burning 70% negative, they're going to make that eventually. But when that thing comes, we don't know. But in my way, when it comes to manufacturing, people say, what is your gross margin? What is your net margin? I tell any investor who asks me that, you go and ask Zomato, what is their net margin is? Negative 70%. Would you still invest? No. And why are you asking me that 10% is not enough for you? So basically, you educate your investor and you educate your customer, you educate your fellow being about what exactly you are trying to create, what you need it, what ecosystem you're trying to build in, how you're going to do it. I think that's when we will win our case. And especially, you said one thing about being dependent, being paralytic to something else. That is increasing every day, because people think, why should I take risk? Let me be discovered, let me work for someone else, and build their dreams and build their aspirations. Then why, if your whole life you're spending about building their dreams and their aspirations, when are you going to build your dreams? Don't you have dreams to get married to a pretty girl, or to get married to get pretty things in life, to stay in top notch, or holiday in Bahamas, or whatever? We always do. They have the proper dream. But if you want to fulfill those dreams, we have to work hard. There is no shortcut to success. The only way is climb up. You fall behind, you again climb up. You will, I know, when we climb stairs, we fall down. When we learn to walk, we fall down. That doesn't mean babies doesn't know how to walk. They fall down 10 times, 11th time they will walk. They are the better example of crossing hurdles, and we are no exception. And our life is full of challenges. So unless we see, we often look at a closed door that we fail to notice an open window. But if we can notice that bleak opportunity that exists in the pathetic, in the bad that we are facing, I think that's when we'll be successful. When we were all facing with pandemic, when we were all having when we were all sitting at home, and that was actually, if you ask me, before I talk about that, if you ask me, the biggest challenge that I have faced is being stuck to home. Was the biggest ever challenge that I faced in the last 31 years of my life, because I never sit at home quiet. And it was first lockdown which actually made me go mad for the first few days. Then spending time just like that actually made me clueless. And I began to think, now this is the time for me to reflect on what I have done in the last 8 years, whether I did it right, whether I did it wrong, what are the aspirations that were pending in my due list, what were I supposed to doing, and did I do something, or what am I missing? And that is exactly what I thought. And I locked to myself, I told to myself, this is my opportunity to reflect on things. And I have analyzed everything and started several new projects that were in pending till then. And then we have created wonderful opportunities out of that pandemic that we all faced. And this is exactly what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends. Don't look at a closed door. Try to look at a small peeping hole that you can see light through. That is when you will be able to think that, yes, in spite of all odds, there is an opportunity that is there for me to excel. And that's when you can stretch your wings and then follow someone that you love, who have done phenomenally well in the respective fields. And then tell yourself, at one day, I'm going to sit in his chair, or in his or beyond I'm going to reach the position beyond him. That is exactly what I told my role model, Dr. Abdul Kalam, in 2006, when he was asking about what do you all want to become in that gathering where I was part of it. I said, Mr. President, don't worry. I'm here and I'm going to uphold your values and your ethics and your grit and determination and become the first blind president of this country at some day. I think that is what exactly impressed and inspired me and said, now I'm going to be happy and I'm going to go. If I am not in this world, I know I'm going to see you as the president someday. And he has mentioned in his book, Learning to Fly as well, I think, about this incident, and he has spoken on several platforms. This is not to brag myself, but this is the hope that leaders like him wanted, and because they were in a dilemma of what the younger generation are going to do, and it is our job to give our role models that the younger generation is going to be fine with the leadership that is going to be followed. Even when it comes to environment, my dear friends, all of us want to utilize the environment and not want to give something back to the environment. This is where I have realized a $1 billion opportunity to create products, to create wealth out of waste, be it paper, be it municipal waste, be it food waste, or be it pharma waste, be it anything. In this world, anything and everything can be recycled into a productive product that people should be proud of using. This is where I call myself in an innovation as disruption. Because for me, innovation is not creating something new, again, reinventing the wheel. For me, innovation is making something affordable and accessible to people of masses is what is innovation in my own way. So I always think about mass. I always think about mass crowd. What can I do to make their lives easy? What can I do to make the products cheaper for them? What can I do to inspire many more people, to bring more Srikanths out of the 55% of the youth? Because as part of Lead India training program that Dr. Kalam has launched, we always train people of how laziness alone can build top 3 national problems like poverty, unemployment, and illiteracy. Because we always talk about 5-year plan, 10-year plan, planning commissions, budgets. Forget about all those things. If we are going to be easy, nobody can do anything to remove India or to better India in terms of unemployment, illiteracy, and poverty. It is in our hands that we can do it. If we stop becoming lazy, if we stop putting ourselves, if we stop postponing things, I think that's when we will achieve that developed India. That is where Dr. Abdul Kalam ji told, individual transformation alone leads to the transformation of the country. It is not someone who's going to come and educate us. It is we who is going to educate ourselves and move on.
Yeah, thank you, Srikanth. It's an excellent response. Like what I'm getting from this is have your mentors and whoever is going to lead help you develop, and also be courageous, take challenges, and just have a control of your own life. So that's what I'm getting out of this. And again, I would like to apologize to everyone for the technical glitches, but I assume that this hope it's okay to wait for because it's worth waiting for Srikanth's speech, and I'm really inspired by your speech.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
If the crowd wants to wait for 10-15 minutes, I'm okay with that.
Now, I think there are other sessions lined up right now, so the people are probably moving. So, yeah. So yeah. Thank you so much, Srikanth, coming and giving your life story here, and it's so inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All the best for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.